Hey guys, Pastor Ken and Connor here. We are so excited about what God is about to do in Austin, Texas, and let us just stop and say thank you from the bottom of our hearts for choosing to help us launch a campus in Austin by leading a group. You know, it's so powerful when a church can begin out of small groups because church is really not an event, it's people. It's people that you belong to, it's relationships that are built with those people. And all of those relationships pointing to Christ. And so we just want to thank you for helping us do that. And we're so excited for what God's going to do in this next season. So we just want to take a few minutes to talk to you about what a group looks like, why we do it, how important it is. You know, coming out of a church plant that's 3.5 years old, we saw success through groups. We highlighted groups from a very early start of the church. And out of that, those relationships formed. People got pointed to Jesus. God changed lives. And out of that, we saw growth. And we know that there is a great harvest in Austin, Texas, where people need Jesus and they need community. So we're going to talk to you about groups today, and we're excited to have you as part of the team. Connor, why don't you take a second just to tell us a little bit about the launch and the importance of groups?
Yeah, for sure. Well, whenever we started this church 18 years ago, just like Pastor Ken did, coming from his last church, he knew that groups were very important. But the same applies with celebration. We started 18 years ago based off of just building relationships, building friendships. And even if they weren't saved, maybe they were just the next door neighbor that a conversation struck up. They knew that Joe and Lori, not pastors Joe and Lori were real people that wanted real relationship in this new city. And so the same applies as we go into Austin. This is a crucial time just to build relationships. Maybe they're not saved. Maybe they don't go to celebration, but just invite them into your home. Invite them into your community of people where you can just say, hey, let's go get coffee. Hey, let's go have a party at our house and get a community of believers around them and potentially they can buy into this vision.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, relationships build the church. And when I think about relationships, there's two relationships that come to mind that every person, regardless of where they're at, they need. Number one, that's relationships with others. You know, nobody wants to live life alone. But number two, everyone needs a relationship with Jesus, whether they know it or not.
Right.
And groups are a great way for that to start. And like Connor was talking about, man, just invite people to coffee, hang out with them, get your group together, regardless of what their history is, their background, whether they believe in Christ or they don't know Christ yet. We're going to have a relationship that they can be friended, they can have love and care and be encouraged. And ultimately, every one of those things is going to point them to Jesus in the way that we care for them. So, well, let's talk about the 4 keys to have a successful group. What does it need to look like? What does it need to feel like? So we ask you to pray for your group. We ask you to prepare for your group. We ask you to provide care for them and then to participate with everything that we're doing with the church and having groups be successful by participating in the launch parties, different things that are going to be coming up specifically for Austin campus. So praying for your group, what does that mean? That means the people that God has put on your heart, the people that God has placed in your path, you pray for them daily. Just believe God to work in their heart. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know exactly what to say to them. All you have to do is pray and believe that God would use that opportunity for that group meeting, that time together to point them to Jesus. We ask you to prepare for the group. So what does that look like? If you're doing a watch party, we want you to make sure that you can use the internet. You've got access where everybody can watch the services with you. If they're coming over to your home, spruce it up a little bit. Make sure it smells good, feels good, because we want it to just be a place where they know that they're loved and accepted, and you're prepared to have them there. And then provide care for them. What does that mean? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about next steps in just a minute, how you can help take them to the next step in their faith. But let's just say, hey, life happens, and sometimes people have issues that come up. You don't have to have the answers, but if they know you care for them, then they're going to want to be part of your group, and they're going to feel loved. On the back end of that, Connor and I and our small groups team, we're all here to help you if a need comes up. If there's care that needs to be provided for the people in your group, we want to help you and assist you for that. But, you know, you just having a loving heart, willing to bring people into your home, that's a win. So provide care for them in that manner, and then participate. When there's launch meetings and planning parties and places to go, that the church has an event, man, bring that group along, because they're going to feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves.
Right.
And that's an awesome aspect to small groups. And so, Connor, why don't you just talk to us a little bit about next steps and group life?
Yeah, so our whole goal here with small groups just is that everybody would take their next step. It's not necessarily that we would get our neighbor saved within the first day, but maybe the next step for them is just attending small group. Maybe it's getting them into your house. Maybe it's taking them to dinner. And then from there, it depends on where they are in their walk with the Lord. For some people, maybe they have been saved their whole life. And so what does the next step look like for them? It looks like leading a group and developing leaders. Just making sure that there is a next step for each person that we come into contact with, and making sure we're pastoring them well, we're leading them well, and that we are maintaining a spirit of growth, not a growth in numbers, but a growth in who we are as people. That's a huge key to our success here at Celebration. It's not taking a look at a statistic, but it's taking a look at our own personal health. And if we're growing personally, then our church is going to grow numerically. And then the other thing is, groups are a way of life. We don't want this to be another church service. We don't want it to just be a thing to scratch off your to-do list, but we want this to be your community of people. Make it natural. As I've talked with many of y'all are very easy people to be with. Y'all are going to be great at building those relationships and just maintaining a mentality of, there's going to be lost people that are coming into your group, and we don't want this to feel churchy. We just want this to feel like a place where they can belong and just have a friend whenever there's something that goes wrong. Just like Pastor Ken was talking about. If something goes wrong, we want to be the ones that say, hey, I'm going to provide a meal for y'all because your wife is in the hospital, or you have a kid that's sick. We would love to, babysit your other kids just so we can get them out of the house. Those are awesome ways to provide care and just provide the love of Jesus for somebody who may not have experienced that.
Yeah, absolutely. When groups are a way of life, you don't think about it as something you have to do. You think about it as something that you get to do. God has called us to this. Right. And we know that God has called us to the city of Austin, that God has called you to step up and lead a group. And so if you're willing to take that next step, if you're saying, hey, man, we're all in, there's a few things that we want to do in order to make sure we get information from you, but we want to get information to you as well. So here's what we need to ask you to do for us. There's going to be a link that you're going to have emailed to you to register your group. Just go ahead and register that and use the initials ATX at the beginning of your group name. And when you select the hub, you select ATX as your hub as well. And then we'd like you to either do a fellowship group or a watch party group. Just to kind of get the campus rolling, just get some momentum moving with these relationships and building community. We want it to be easy for people to find that ATX group that's close to them, that Austin campus group. So that's what we need you to do on that end, but we also are going to give you some resources. One of them is Right Now Media. It's going to be basically like a free Christian Netflix for you. All kinds of videos that are there at your disposal, but we specifically have an Austin campus channel that we created. And so it's just great Bible studies and resources that are easy to use. They're all video based, and we try to pick the ones that are a little bit more edgy, a little bit more community driven, so that there's going to be just easy opportunities for you to push play and have some great conversations and build relationships out of that. So we'd love for you to utilize that. We're also going to send you some links to some resources from our small groups, information as far as the honor code, the leader guides, frequently asked questions, things like that. So be looking out for that information, but we want to equip you as best we can. And here again, we're here to support you. Right. Pastor Reese is there for you. There's some great things on the horizon, and this is just the beginning. Mm-hmm. So guys, thanks for taking a few minutes to watch this video. We're praying for you. We're believing in you, and we know that God's going to touch your group and touch people's lives through it. We'll see you guys.